Welcome to the Rooted and Rising Collective, the podcast where faith and business meet. We're Joanna and Krista, two friends learning to build our lives and work, not on hustle culture or worldly success, but on the unique gifts God has given us. If you got 20 minutes, grab a coffee and join us. Whether you're a coach, consultant, or solopreneur, these conversations are for anyone who wants to stay rooted in Christ and rise into the calling He's placed on their life. And so today we get to talk about something that is I think it's super exciting. We get to talk about spiritual gifts and figuring out what those are and really aligning what you do with how you were created. Because when you figure that out, you're not chasing hustle culture anymore. You are living in the way that you were created, and it is natural. Your work and your life, home life, just all meld together in a way that doesn't require you to have the term work-life balance in your brain anymore, because you're not concerned about it, because it's so
I never
natural.
thought of it that way. I had to interject there for a second. I have breathed and lived and accepted that phrase for quite some time. Wow.
Isn't that like when you're no longer working to achieve? And that's the thing, is I'm not saying that you're not working when you live in your spiritual gifts and when you build something around that. I'm not saying that you're not working. You're giving it your 100% effort, but you're giving it your effort in the gifts that are God given. And I don't know, for those of you who haven't tried it, let me just tell you about what it feels like. Let me try to explain to you what it feels like to do work based on your God-given talents versus what you think are your talents. There is a substantial difference between the quality of work you put out when you are leaning into your God-given talents and when you are relying on your own idea of what you think you're great at. Or better yet, what you think you're supposed to be great at in order to fit some sort of mold. I don't know. I think that for me that was huge. And I know you and I have talked about this, Joanna, and I'm excited to kind of share, but that's really, as we have myself specifically dove into understanding the mission and the vision of what Conscientious Collab is, has really been centered on my God-given talents. But don't hear what I'm not saying. It is sometimes difficult to put that in worldly words for your clients. So we can talk about that. That can be another section that we can talk, or another podcast that we talk about. Another topic for another podcast. Because that's something that I still struggle with. But I feel deeply about leaning into those gifts. But I do struggle with articulating them to someone who doesn't have the same shared belief system that I have. Do you find that at all?
I get that completely. Yeah, with Women's Synergy Consulting, I work with various different clientele, and I know that you do too. It's so hard because when I want to be helpful with my gifts, one of mine is help, and so I want to help them, nurture them. Well, sometimes you can't hide behind what God has given you. And, I didn't see it as a God-given talent. I just thought that was part of me, from my makeup, from when I was little, from all the trauma, from all the healing, from all the undoing in life that I've done. I just thought, oh, that's just a quality that I kind of learned to have over the years. But I really do believe that that is part of my God-given talent. And I did take that test. Like I said, it's a great example, a great tool to use. It was a good experience to kind of learn a little bit more. And when I am in the process of helping my clients, I catch myself, okay, should I talk about God? How do I talk about God? I'm going to talk about God. Here I go. And I sometimes have this bold, brave moment, and then I don't other times, because you have to have discernment and wisdom. And sometimes you just have to kind of take a step back and allow your actions to speak louder than your words. So that's kind of like what I'm working through right now.
Yeah, it's a journey, right? All
Yeah,
figuring
for
it out.
sure.
Let's talk about, I think we should toss in like the link or somewhere in this, we should toss that test because it's a free test and anybody can take it. And it was definitely helpful. And so I know that sometimes you have clients that are just starting out their business. And so this is a super helpful place to start. I'm sure you probably give them like a template to try to navigate like the strategy behind what they're starting. But even one step further, like what are you good at that you don't even know, to your point, that you are good at, that you think is just some quirky little thing that you're good at that either annoys people or people love about you, you know? I'll share more about mine in a minute and I'll tell you why I say that. But yeah, I think we should throw the link in there. And then it would be super exciting. People, I mean, feel free to share what you come up with. It's a really cool conversation because it's something you can lean into. And obviously it's just a man-made test. So, you know, everyone, you're going to take it, you know, with a grain of salt too. But I'm sure when you take something like this and you look at it and you reevaluate your life and where you've been able to show up, for me, it was pretty obvious. I was like, oh, okay. Like, this makes sense to me.
Yeah, I have a few of them that I didn't realize that I had until just recently. So, okay, help. That's a good one. That one I knew, but I didn't know it was of God. But the things that are interesting to me from this test, I have faith, which is so exciting.
Are you going in order?
No. Okay, so
go in order.
If I
Yes,
go
let's
in
go in
order,
order.
I can go in order, sure. Okay, so my first one is exhortation. The gift of exhortation is the divine strength or ability to strengthen, comfort, urge others to action or to take action through written or spoken word and biblical truth. So I'm kind of doing that right now in my consulting services. I am leaning on Christ to guide every interaction that I have with my clients. And even if it is a non-believing client of mine, I'm still leaning on my skill sets that I've obtained in the world, right? But I ask the Lord to guide us so it could be a fruitful experience for my client. And I urge them, like I am helping them see their strength, giving them that support, walking them through a business boot camp is what I call it. They have 4 weeks of intense assignments that they have to do. And there are times when I have to give them strength and encouragement and, you know, help them not feel alone in the process. So that's why, you know, I need to make sure that I'm also pouring into me too, so that I can pour into them. Mm-hmm. And so that's one really cool thing that I have started to evaluate. Like, wow, I didn't realize that that was part of a gift that this, of course, this tool and this resource is telling me, but I do agree with it. I am starting to understand it more. This second one is faith. So that one's interesting to me because it says the gift of faith is the divine strength or ability to believe in God for unseen supernatural results in every arena of life. Well, prior to living for the Lord, really fully having a heart posture change for Christ, I can tell you right now that I had a head knowledge of faith, but having a heart posture change and a true walk with the Lord is a completely different experience. And so I'm excited that it is at a higher level on my list. I wish it was number one, but it's okay. God has, you know, me doing things in this. This is like you said, a man-made test, but maybe my strength in exhortation needs to be number one because I am speaking biblical truth, and not just in my workplace, but, you know, externally. So I think that is really important. And then faith can back that up. So I'm really excited that that order is in that way. Then after that, it is, let's see here, number 3, it's help. And I think you can kind of get the gist of it, but I'll go over it. The gift of help is the divine strength or ability to work in a supportive role for the accomplishment of a task in Christian ministry with the ability to often see the need before others do. I have found myself wanting to bless other people, believers, non-believers, just really seeing a need lately. Like, for example, I have been with other recently I've been going to different mom groups and meeting up and having little play dates for my son, and so he can have friends to play with, and I get to talk to the moms in the group, and sometimes they're believers and sometimes they're not, but I can see, hey, what have you done for yourself lately? How can I be there for you? Just recently I went to a farmer's market and got a packet full of it's like an herbal, it looks like a tea bag, but you put it in a hot bath. And so it kind of just like relaxes you and soothes you, and, you get to unwind as a mom. And I was there with a friend because we were doing the meetup for the play date. And I said, you know what? I'm going to bless you with one of these because I know what it means to be a mom of 1, and she's a mom of 2 babies. And I'm like, I want to bless you. When's the last time you got to take a bath and relax? And she was just so happy that I even thought of her in that way. So it's really important that we consider others and think about, what have I gone through and how can I be of help to them? And that's showing a ministry of Christ. Christ, can be shown through that because he's love, he's kindness, he's compassion, he's, wanting to make sure your needs are met. The next one is mercy. The gift of mercy is the divine strength or ability to feel empathy and to care for those who are hurting in any way. I can tell you right now, I did not realize that that was the name of that for me, but I have always been able to feel empathy in others. And so much so that sometimes if you are going through a situation in your life where you're feeling a little bit more amped up, a little bit more nervous, a little bit more anxious, and we're hanging out, I can pick up on that because I have that innate ability to say, you are really going through something and I can see it. What can I do to be there for you? How can I help you? So my gifts, help, mercy, faith, exhortation, they all start to combine. And then the last one, this one kind of took me by surprise. It's pastor shepherd. I have never in my wildest dreams thought I would be able to lead anybody in that divine type of way. But it says the gift of pastor shepherd is the divine strength or ability to care for the personal needs of others by nurturing and mending life issues. Well, when you peel back and maybe take the word pastor shepherd away, I do enjoy doing those things for folks as well, and family and friends and strangers, right? And I really do agree. This tool, like I said, is a kind of an amazing experience because it puts names and titles and it pinpoints what God is doing in my life, how he's using me, and how he's able to use me through these different spiritual gifts. And so I'm so excited that you shared it with me. And now we get to share it with others. And hopefully anybody listening, if this is something that speaks to you, definitely take it. It is definitely enlightening. And I think that you'll be blessed by it. And if you don't want to take it, but you know somebody that might be interested in taking it, share it, like it, and send it out and let others get to experience it as well.
That is so exciting because I know I sent that over to you, and this all kind of started as I took it, honestly, because number one, I think I shared with you, I wanted to understand if my business, what space my business should be heading in, but really because my grandmother, we were talking about spiritual gifts, and she's like, send me your spiritual gifts, and I'm like, okay, whatever, which is exciting, but I'm like, okay, cool, I said that in such a with a negative attitude right now, but I was just like, okay, I'll send that to you. You know, Erica and I will look at it because we both decided to take it. But then it really got me understanding this thing about the business. And so it's cool because then I was able to share it with you, and now you're sharing that with me, and I can see those threads through our friendship. I can see those threads through we worked together. That's how we met. So we worked together. So I saw you when we worked in the banking world. I saw you, how you showed up for customers, how you showed up for your teammates, you know. So I got to see that aspect as well. I saw you do it so much so I think there were times that you and I were at odds because you were like shepherding. I can see that one like so clearly because you were just like, here, little Krista, let me show you how to learn. Well, this is a funny story actually, but let me show you how to learn how to show up right in the corporate world. And I was just not in a position to hear that or care at that time in my life. So there were moments where even those, like, I can just see those, and it's just funny stories now where you and I had different opinions, but I can see I can just see the thread of how those things, whether for good or for times where they were always for good, but for times where I received it versus times I didn't receive it, I can still see that thread through that. And then even what you do with your business now with Women's Synergy, yeah, everything you just listed is what you're doing in, you know what I'm saying, in that space, one or another, maybe not all at once. And maybe it's
You're
not
melting
all,
my heart.
Oh, well, it is what it is, you know, and it is, I don't know, I think it is important to encourage one another in the things that we're called to do, because it's not always easy. You know, it's not always easy to see that either. And it's not always easy to lean into the way that we were created sometimes, you know, because I look at mine, and I'll share mine too, but I look at this list and I'm like, well, I wish I would have this, or I wish I would have that, you know. And it's easy sometimes to step outside of, and I'm not saying that you can't step outside of what you were created to do and like try hard in other areas. If that's what you want to do it. But at the end of the day, this is how you're created, and you better just accept it and get with it, you know. So encouragement around
it's
that,
a lot easier, right?
Yeah.
Instead of fighting it.
I'll 100%. I'll share mine with you real quick. I don't have like, I can tell you what I have. We have one that we share. I do not have like a prepared thought around.
Should I guess it? Should I guess what it is?
If you would like, you want to guess which one are you going to, you want to guess all 5 of them, or do you want to, no. You want to guess the one that we have in common? That. Yes. Okay.
I'm like, I don't know if I have that on my radar, but I think the one that we share in common, I want to say, oh my gosh, you're right. I can see a lot of you, and a lot of these though, faith.
Nah, no.
Really?
I do not have that one. No.
Okay, now I really want to guess even more, but I'll let you take it away.
Okay.
You tell me.
So the one that we share is helps, which is funny because like I think that shows up. It shows up for me too, but I think it shows up for me a little bit differently. I don't have the same what's the word? I don't have mercy. Mercy's not one of mine. So I think the way that your help shows up is tied into that. And that's not to say that I'm not empathetic or that I don't care for people, but it is to say that I'm very logical. So I think sometimes the way that certain, not to say that you're not either, that you're not logical, but I think through all things from a very objective, that's a better word to say, objective perspective. Our help shows up a little bit different in how we do it, but that one is my 4th one, and I'll just kind of quickly share what mine are. Again, I don't really have any specific examples around them, but if you have anything you want to add, feel free. But my top one, which I kind of knew, but I feel kind of weird about accepting because I think it's kind of like, I don't know, it's kind of interesting to say this out loud. But my top one is discernment according to this test. And that feels very like heavy, but also kind of showy to me. You know, I'm like, oh gosh, that seems like a little bit of like a look at me and my discernment, you know, like But I think that just goes to, I think the reason why I look at it that way is because I value that so much in other people that I think it's like a cool, like, I don't want to, I think it, I don't know, I think it's cooler than it really is probably, because all of these are equally important, you know?
Absolutely, but discernment, I wish I had that on there. You just got done telling me about things that you wish you had on your list. That's my number one I wish I had. I think I would made a lot different choices in my lifetime.
Well, you know,
But I guess
had
you
I
can't really have,
understood,
we can't have discernment if we're not living for the Lord. So
yeah,
discernment
yeah,
comes from, so good for you.
yeah.
That's such a blessing.
You know, yes, yes. I don't want to sit here and hesitate too long because it is what it is. It definitely is. It comes with, I think that's probably one of the more annoying things too is, and it's not necessarily for me, but for other people. And that's something that I have to work on too. But like when you are kind of able to discern maybe truth from not truth, then it's like, okay, well, how do you deliver that message? And I would say, unfortunately, the rest of my um, gifts from this test don't really help me package that up as politely or as kindly as most people would want to hear. And so it's a work in progress, right? It's something that sometimes that comes across as harsh, right? So I'll share with you. So my second one is service, which does not help me, you know, share out loud things kindly necessarily. But service is obviously doing small or great tasks in the working for the overall good of the body of Christ. My third one, and this is no surprise to me at all, is administration, which is the divine strength or ability to organize multiple tasks and groups of people to accomplish these tasks. Here's the thing though, like, couldn't I get like the gift of like singing or something wonderful? But it's like, here you go. And I'm grateful, but I think it's funny. You know, I think we all sometimes are like, man, I wish I had something, you know, administration. That's not to dog on anybody who's great at that. It's just, it's one of those things that's so natural to me that I don't look at it as a gift. I look at it as a means to live life. Like, I'm like, well, isn't everybody like that, you know? And I have to remind myself, not everybody is like super organized, but to me, I just feel like that's just the way life is, right? Like, and I think, well, that's a boring one to have because that's just life.
You gotta be appreciative of these spiritual gifts. We gotta take a moment and pause.
I know.
It is comical, but I think you should take a moment and pause and be so grateful because your gifts are blessing this podcast. Because where I don't line up the way I would like to and show up, you can fill that gap for me. So I do appreciate it, and I think it's important to call that out.
Well, you know.
I apologize. The dog's in the background.
That's all
Can
right.
you hear her?
Yeah, she's saying, girl, you need to appreciate what you're given. That's what I heard. I don't know. So my next one is help. And so that's one that you and I share. We won't dive into that. This one is prophecy. Here's the deal. I don't know how that is or isn't showing up. I can kind of understand a little bit around that, but specifically the way this test describes it is the divine strength or ability to communicate God's truth and heart in a way that calls people to a right relationship with God. And I imagine that if this test is accurate, God is molding me to understand how to embrace that, because that one is just a big question mark for me at this moment. But
I have an example for you. It's many years ago, and it's before you and I were really living for the Lord. This was quite some time ago, and this is before you were married. And it was, I think, when we were maybe working at the bank together, but I was in my car, and we were talking, and I was about to go into Walmart, but I decided to stay in the car and talk to you before I went into Walmart. And you were talking about just a lot of things in the spiritual sense. And I'm going to tell you right now, a lot of things that you were talking about have definitely changed more than likely with what your values were then with what you know to be truth now, and vice versa. But you were able to have such an understanding that was able to relay it to me in a way that now that the Lord has transformed you and changed your heart, and you understand truth in a biblical sense, you have that gift. Because now I guarantee the conversations that you and I are going to have about Christ, and that we do have about Christ, are biblically true. And you help me unpack and unload and see things in a different way that I've never been able to see before. So I think this is something you've had already deep down, and now the Lord is going to start bringing it to light. So I wanted to call that out. I hope that helps bless you today.
I just think, woo! You guys, I'm hearing it for the first time, as you guys are hearing this. So this is, we're going to have a chat about this a little bit later too. But, yeah, that's cool. It's powerful. Well, she's speechless, guys. I don't know. I don't know where to go from there.
I did not mean to do that to you.
No, but that is cool. Also shows me that, if we're going to share this stuff, I'm just kidding when I say this, but my joke is that we should share this stuff in advance. I'm just kidding. I think it's cool to have raw conversations.
She's like, I didn't have an answer.
I don't know. I take time to process things. That's actually a learned, I don't want to say that's a learned behavior. I want to say that's a maturity that I eventually grew into, where I'm like, you know what? I'm going to take some time, think about that. I love that. But I also realize in these moments it doesn't serve me, because I'm just too cool with just processing. And then I'll come back and respond to it later, which this episode will be done by the time I figure that out. So, yeah, that's cool. I'm excited. I'm excited for other people to have the opportunity to take this. This isn't ours. It's not sponsored. It's just a free one that we found online, and it seemed reputable, based off of a little bit of research that I did. And I like to do research. So if we share something, it's not the very first link that we click, just so you guys are aware. It's at least the second. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. But, I'm excited. And then, here's the deal. Even if you're not super into, you're just on the fence still about your faith, this is still a cool thing, because this is something that if you take, it is kind of hard to separate out the God out of spiritual gifts. But I mean, even if you go and you look, I would say your spiritual gifts is kind of the ultimate personality assessment. And then also what's so cool is you can start to build your community covered from all sides.
Thanks for spending part of your day with us here at the Rooted and Rising Collective. We hope this conversation encouraged you to stay rooted in Christ as you rise into your calling. If it spoke to you, share it with a friend, and don't forget to subscribe so you can grab a coffee and join us again. Until next time, keep building with Him at the center.